Big ring. Let's go.
What is up? Welcome to another deep dive on e-racing. Today is the bell lap direction of Crit City in Zwift. I've been looking for ways to shake things up on Zwift a little bit because oftentimes these races are, an effort around like sweet spot or threshold, depending on how far over your head you are. With some sprints at the beginning and end, this race didn't actually start that hard. I've seen a ton of complaining recently about races starting super hard, but this one, I'm like barely going over FTP at all. And this is a Crit City A race. Looks like we had 25 on the line. If you guys already caught out on the start, these e-racing starts always catch a few guys. So this race, I had a very specific mission. This is something I've wanted to test for a long time. In the past, I've attacked on this section, the roller coaster, which going this direction, it's more uphill than downhill. So if you really punch on each of those rollers, you can get some good separation there, but then you end up off the front on this flat part. And what I've noticed, at least when I do it, is most of the time you can get decent separation on the roller coaster, but the group ends up scrambling on the flat here and around the upcoming left-hand corner, and you get overtaken on the descent, which this direction goes down the cobblestones rather than up the cobblestones, which is the steepest part of this course, the most sustained climb going the other direction, the Downtown Dolphin direction, descent going this direction. So this is what I wanted to try. Sprint up to 56k per hour, stop pedaling before the descent, and try to time it so that I get a Supertuck on this descent. So theoretically, I could continue going somewhere between like 56 and 62 kilometers per hour for a few seconds there at 0 watts, which is the only place on this course you would be able to do anything like that, really. And also just something that people don't do very much, so you could potentially catch people out. You can see this first attempt, I did not get the Supertuck, but I did get some separation there, some solid separation until these two guys put out red numbers to get me back. I thought this guy might actually have a good counterattack here, but he didn't really commit to it. It did look like a real crit for a couple of seconds there, though, kind of a peloton rolling around and then a couple guys trying to get off the front. But in classic Zwift fashion, everyone slowly kind of just comes back together with minimal attrition. So I'm not going to show this whole race. If you want to see the whole thing, it is over on my Twitch. I'm doing a lot more of this now where I'm streaming things live on Twitch only and then doing more in-depth breakdowns when I think there's something really interesting to pull out of that footage. So if you want to see this whole race, or you want to be able to watch my races live more often and live chat, all that kind of stuff, check out my Twitch channel. Skipping ahead a couple laps, we're back on the roller coaster, and we've got a couple guys making that classic attack on the roller coaster, get a little bit of separation before the flat part right here. The roller coaster is a little bit more uphill than downhill in this direction of the course, so it makes sense that that's where people try to get away. It is probably the easiest place to get the separation, but I realize right here that the group being strung out like this and sort of accelerating to catch these guys, it's probably a good situation for me to try this attack again because I can start my sprint from the back and theoretically get a draft all the way through while I'm up to speed and then stop pedaling right here. I think I still probably didn't stop pedaling quite soon enough. And I did get the Supertuck this time, so that's the Supertuck animation down on the top tube. And you could see I was doing 0 watts going 62 and sort of slingshotted up to these guys. Probably could have committed to this and kept going. I wonder if these guys would have chased me down. But again, this was for experimental purposes a little bit. So about a 3-second gap there. It was good for about a 3-second gap. I actually got the Supertuck, but my main takeaway from that one is coming in with a higher speed definitely helps. And I'm dropping my undraftable power up here. Just because that's always a good move when people catch you to hit the undraftable right at that moment, because that's when they have been on the limit the longest. I'll talk about some faux pas with the undraftable if I see them pop up here as well. So I've got the timing down for starting the sprint to get up to 56 kph in time, I think. I haven't quite nailed the timing of stopping my pedaling and starting to coast. And part of that is just reading your trainer lag. Everybody's setup is going to be a little bit different, but I know that I've got basically about 2 pedal strokes. It feels like a couple of seconds between when I start or stop pedaling and when my avatar responds, basically. which Zwift mechanics sort of smooth that out, but the hardest transition you're going to make is going from a full sprint into a Supertuck. So getting that timing exactly perfect is pretty crucial. A couple laps down the line, I'm hanging out at the back here with my Restart Racing teammate Dan here in the Christmas sweater, and we've got another attack, this time coming off of the roller coaster section. So I know, once again, this is probably going to be a pretty good one for me to hit it. I've also got that tractor power up, which I'm not actually sure how much benefit you're getting on the downhill here, but what the tractor does is take the surfaces with increased rolling resistance on Zwift and make that rolling resistance the same as tarmac. So there is actually increased rolling resistance on the cobblestones and on the dirt in Zwift. So hit that, nailed my sprint pretty well, and got a Supertuck. So there's that little section in the middle there where it does flatten out in the middle of that descent, and it takes the Supertuck away from you. But you really don't lose that much. Again, I got a huge gap there for, it is an effort, but I slingshotted past that guy who had already attacked. The steamroller certainly doesn't hurt, and there's nowhere better on this course to use it. I haven't used the anvil power-up yet. I wonder how much that would help a super light rider like me attacking a descent. Should have made better use of camera 6 here because those guys did really roll past me. I'm not going to let that get away though. I'm going to just slowly bring that. And this is the mechanic that really, like, the way those guys had a little gap and it just sort of like naturally came together without anyone really panicking. That's that Zwift mechanic that, it kind of accounts for the trainer lag. It's like it sands the rough edges off of everything. Like all the stuff that in real life would be like, panic and you would have to get out of the saddle and sprint, and it's like do or die. Like it kind of just rounds the edges off that stuff and makes it where you can sort of ramp up and ramp down. I don't know. It's a weird mechanic, especially coming off of RGT, but that's why I'm trying to figure out some of these tactics to animate these races a little bit more. And I do think this would get even more interesting when you throw more teammates in the race and have a loose plan and maybe a Discord chat going based around that tactic where maybe one person attacks on the roller coaster and then the next one counters with the Supertuck, something like that. And I do have my teammate Dan in here, but he's doing what he calls a recovery race, which means that he's sitting on the back, which, seems like an oxymoron, but Dan's super strong, so I'm not going to question his methods here. So I spent the last couple of laps back here with Dan trying to get a little recovery myself. I knew I had a pretty good kick, so it made sense for me to save something for the finale and really go for it after I figured out the timing on the Supertuck. First of all, I figured out that the Supertuck was possible, and then after that I figured out the timing a little bit. I also had a lot of people dropping into Twitch chat as the race went on, so the last couple of laps was a good chance for me to talk to them and catch my breath a little bit. But I got to get my head back in the game. We're in the last 5.5 kilometers, last half of a K here, and made that mistake in the past, being too focused on what's going on my stream and not having my head in the game. But basically my plan here is I would love to sprint from 250. I left it a little late. This direction, I don't have my timing down, and it throws me off that it's like 2 corners early that you have to start sprinting. So I started my sprint a little bit late, but I did have a solid sprint here. Just barely did not get it. I got another video of a Crit City win that I'm going to break down. That's next on my docket. So, yeah, seeing it popped up, I'm kind of bummed there. But I would say successful outing overall. Figured out a new strategy, which, it's not going to necessarily just win you the race every time. It's not going to make breakaways magically possible on Zwift, but it is a good way to animate the race, make some other people do some work, and make things a little bit more interesting, which is what I'm trying to do. I think it's always good to figure out these mechanics and these super specific things and then just have them in your back pocket for those days where maybe it does win you a race or maybe it does win a race for your teammate, something like that. So as I alluded to, I got another Crit City breakdown coming of a race I did actually win, so stay on the lookout for that. And check out the Twitch again if you want to see these things live. Thanks everybody for watching and subscribing. Appreciate it.